Hey, it's James here from eBassGuitar. We help beginner to intermediate bass guitar players go from average to amazing. And in today's YouTube video, I want to take apart and react and analyze to Bernard Edwards' very last gig. Bernard Edwards was the incredible bass player from Chic. So first off, I would love to ask you, what is your favorite Bernard Edwards bass line? Please let me know in the description below. So today we're going to be looking at Good Times from the 1996 Live at Budokan concert. So let's get straight down to it. So the very first thing I was struck by, and when I watched this briefly before we recorded, was how static and stationary Bernard Edwards was then when he played. And then the penny dropped. This was his last concert ever. I think he died literally very shortly after this gig. So the guy was super ill at this point. So first of all, I think it's absolutely extraordinary that he got on stage to begin with, but also I think it's the mark of an absolutely amazing musician and bass player when even they're that sick that they can sound this phenomenal, because the groove that is coming out of the Chic band there is just absolutely incredible. It just makes me want to dance straight out the gate. But anyway, let's get straight onto it and listen to some more. So this is one of the most iconic disco bass lines out there, and for me, disco is just the most phenomenal style of music to play on bass. So let's actually take a look at this bass line to begin with. But first off, I want to look at the harmony to begin with, because this is the most important thing to understand. So there are literally two chords in this tune. The first chord is an E minor 7, like so, and then to an A7 chord like that. So a lot of musicians describe this groove as a 2-5 groove, because essentially the chord, the E minor and then the A7, wants to resolve to a D chord like that. But the slightly strange thing is you never actually hear the D chord throughout the whole of the piece. And not so long back, a musician, if you're kind of geeky and into music theory, said to me and posed the question, is this really a 1/4 chord sequence using the Dorian mode? So our key scale behind this is the E minor Dorian scale. So let me just play you that to begin with. So it is an E, an F sharp, a G, an A, a B, a C sharp, a D, and an E, like that. So just get that under your hands to begin with. Then the next most important thing, if you think of that as being our home scale to begin with, is to get the chord tones out of each chord, because this will give us the fundamental understanding that we need for this. So the chord tones here are an E, a G, a B, a D, and an E, like that. So this is an E minor 7 arpeggio, like that. And then we want to get the A7 arpeggio down as well, which is an A C sharp, an E, an open G, and an A, like that. So first of all, play those two arpeggios. Also play the chords as well. It's useful just to get that sound of the harmony in under your fingers and in your head to begin with. But anyway, let's crack straight on. Cool, so let's take this line apart now. So the first part of this is a 4-bar bass line, and it sounds like this. So what we want to do is we want to take apart the E minor part to begin with, and it sounds like this. So it starts off with 3 very strong quarter notes to begin with. Bum, bum, bum. Get that little bit of daylight in there, like so. And then we push into the next bar. Bum, 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 gum, gum. like that. So try and really get tight on that syncopation. And so when we get to the beginning of the second bar, we then simply go up the E Dorian scale. So we go like that. So we go all the way up to the octave and then push into the A of the next bar. So the A lands a 16th note ahead of the beat on the beginning of the third bar. So we end up with this bass line. Like so. Really, really, really cool. So, and then we carry on like that. So we pushed into that A, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we play on the second and the third beat 2 more just simple quarter notes. And so this is really, really just get those notes really short and punchy. So we end up with this. And then we push into that fourth bar on the last 16th note of the bar. And then we have this wonderfully, wonderfully cool bass line. And what he's doing is he's bouncing off the open A, and then he's hitting the F sharp there, and up to the G there. Like that. So play that again. Just get that down as a little phrase in itself. It's so cool. And then we have this little line to take us back to the beginning of the E minor. Now, for years, I've actually played this wrong, and this is so cool just to revisit this stuff. What did I used to play? I used to play this. Like that. But what the actual line Bernard plays with is this. So he plays the open A, hammers onto the B like that, and then go to the E, to the F sharp, and hammers onto the G. Like that. Falls really nicely on the hands once you get it down. Like that. So let's play the whole of that bass line. Cool. So get that down. Now let's carry on. Oh, so some amazing shots of Bernard there. Now, it's not very often that I get to say this. I am playing exactly the right bass here to create the Chic sound. This is a mid-70s, I believe, Music Man Stingray, which is the Bernard Edwards bass that you can play there. Looks very, very similar. It is literally from that period. It's been lent to me by my friend Kevin, who used to play with Paul Young in the 80s and play all those incredible Pino Palladino bass lines on tour. And he said, have a go with this, it's incredible. And to get it even more authentic, it has the flat wound strings onto, which are the type of strings that Bernard Edwards would have used there. So this really is actually a really authentic sound. So let's carry on.
Happy days are here again. The time is right for making bread. Let's get together.
Oh yeah.
About 1 to 10. Come tomorrow, let's all do it again. Boys will be boys, better let them have their toys. Girls will be girls.
Cool, so you can hear that incredible verse groove going on there. But just before we take that apart, I'd love to ask you guys, if you're enjoying this video, please make sure you subscribe to the eBassGuitar YouTube channel, because we release a video designed especially for beginner to intermediate bass players who want to push their bass playing to that advanced level every single week. There's a red button somewhere around this video and you'll be the first to know when it goes live. Now, let's go back to the verse here. Now, the chords remain exactly the same. It's 2 bars of E minor 7 to 2 bars of A7 like that. But rather having the same amount of movement that Bernard puts in the chorus section there that we've already covered, what he does is he simplifies it. And so we end up with this bass line. So this is largely just those really, really short, punchy 16th notes, quarter notes like that. So even if you just played that bass line, you'd get the effect. But let's just take it apart and actually look at what he plays. So he starts off with 3/4 notes. And then he has this phrase on the 4th beat, like that, da 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 da, like so. And then he goes into 2/8 notes on the beginning of the 2nd bar, da da da. So we end up with this, dum, bum, bum, like that. And then to link to the A chord, it's really simple. What he does is he goes E, and then 2/16 notes of an F, to a G, and then to an A, like that. So we end up with the first 2 bars sounding like this. Like that. I suggest fret the A there. I find I get just a little bit more control when I fret that A. So what we go into is the very, very similar idea. 3/4 notes on the A. And he starts doing this pattern here, which is dum, ba-dum, 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 like that, which is really, really funky, just on the 2nd bar of that A7 chord. So dum. And then to take us back round to the beginning, we have like so, which is simply a D to an E like that. And that brings us nicely back round to that open E like so. So we end up with this 4-bar bass line, which is very simple, but just really pay attention to that note length, because that's what makes it so funky. Like that. So really, really get that down. But anyway, let's carry on.
Cute ponytails, girls must put an end to the stress and strife. I think I want to live this 40 life. Come on, good times. These are the good times.
Now you can hear we're back into the chorus, and so just listen to that sort of tension and release where we go for a more simple bass line in the verse, and then it really starts to take off when we hit that chorus section there. So simple, but very, very clever at the same time.
Leave your cares behind. These are the
Oh, I love that brass. So simple.
good times. These are the good times. Are you straight of mind?
Also, just listen to the rest of the band here. Always try and appreciate what other instruments are doing. Listen to how simple that drummer is keeping it. Listen to how simple those brass parts. It really lets that fantastic bass line and the vocals and that funky guitar breathe. If everybody's always going for it all the time, you don't get the subtlety. It's that old classic of less is more, and that's definitely this case in happen. So what happens after this is we have the verse and the chorus here again. So I'm going to just take it forward a little bit, because what he does is a bit of a bass solo, which I'm hoping I'm going to find now.
Good times.
Ah, yeah, got it.
And more funky there.
Ah, got to catch that. This is exactly the sort of bass solo I love, because it is based on the groove. It's not trying to fly off and do anything crazy, but it just has something really relatable. And there's just those extra little 60 notes, and you can hear him really messing around with this side. Something like that. I haven't quite got that down, but you hear that right. And then at the end, he goes up and gets that wonderful tritone at the end, which, what are those 2 notes? We have a C sharp and a G like that, which is the 3rd and the 7th of the A's. And those always sound really great. You can also just hear him putting in a few extra sort of, try that again. That kind of thing where he's bouncing more off the open strings. I didn't play that brilliantly there, but you get the idea. Just those little subtle nuances can add so much to it. So there we go, he had the odd snap in there. I've got my hunch here that he has gone on to round wound strings here, because this was the 90s where flat wounds were more of a thing in the 70s. So he obviously wants that slightly more modern, twangy, punchy bass sound, but you can hear him hit that slap note there, which sounds really, really great. Oh. And then Nile Rodgers goes into the classic rapper's delight there. So make sure you go back and just check that bass solo out. If you're wanting to construct your own bass solo, sometimes it can be just super, super effective just to break it back to the groove that you've been playing on underneath like that, because it really draws the audience's ears into that particular groove. And to create a great bass solo, as he's just proved there, you don't literally have to add too much more. Now, the rest of this track goes back into the verse and the chorus. It's one of those tunes which just loops and loops round and round, which is just great for audiences to dance to. So I'm not going to take the rest of it apart now, so you guys can listen to it, because once you've got these two fundamental sections down, you really have got the whole tune. But again, just to wrap up, this is an amazing track. This is Nile Rodgers, Bernard Edwards' last performance, and I just can't believe how amazingly well he is playing, considering how sick he is at this point. So make sure you check this recording out. It's a real seminal video. So if you've enjoyed this Reacts and Analyzes video, please can you let me know in the comments. Also, if you're a beginner to intermediate bass playing, you want to push your bass playing up to that more advanced level, make sure you jump over to eBassGuitar.com and check out the Bass Lab Plus. That is a step-by-step program designed especially for beginner to intermediate bass guitar players. There's a 14-day trial you can grab if you click the link in the description below. Cheers, I've been James from eBassGuitar.com. I'll catch you next time.